Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Hello, and welcome to the Better Your Business Show. Here we discuss your most important business challenges and provide you practical solutions to help you better your business.
Absolutely. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a go-getter, you are an overachiever. You have dreams and goals. What you may not have are experts giving you step-by-step advice to guide you to make sure that you realize these goals.
As you grow your business, the first thing that you remember is that no one handed you an instruction manual or a play-by-play book in order to build your business to a level of sustainability. And that's why we put the show together, so we can bring the experts who can help guide you through each one of those building blocks so you can build a better business.
Yes, so whether you are joining us live or watching the replay, make sure you take your free business assessment at pillar5.com. Then you can join us live in our virtual studio where we can address your concerns and comments throughout the show.
That's right. That's right. So today, man, I'm so excited, man. Today's guest, we have Saurage-Altenloh. She is going to help us dive deep into today's topic. What's today's topic, Natalie?
Today's topic is swatting failure flies. So swatting. What is swatting? Who can tell me what swatting is? I thought this was very interesting. Swatting failure flies.
That's coming out. That's coming out. The SWOT. SWOT, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats to your business. It's actually a proactive action that's taken when researching for your market. And most people don't, man, a lot of people, I can't say most people. Some people may not have heard of a SWOT, may not know how relevant it is, but wow, having it and not having it can make a huge difference in actually studying your market and your place, your position in relation to your competition or competitors or even peers.
Absolutely. When I think about SWOTs, I think about businesses that I've opened in the past and not knowing what a SWOT was, never even hearing of the term SWOT. And anytime I heard the term SWOT, I would think of the movie, with police officers running around trying to invade a building, right? I wouldn't think of SWOT for business. And so as we were building Pillar 5 and going into that deep dive into SWOT analysis, there was many pieces then at that point that I didn't understand. Like, what was our strengths? Like, how deep do you really go into that? And I think the real question I was asking myself when we were going through that process was, why is it even important? We're a small business owner. Big businesses do that type of stuff. Small businesses don't need that stuff. And as we grew and continued to grow with our marketing team, there was individuals on our team that would insist that we do a SWOT analysis. And so it was after Tehran and I did the SWOT analysis that we understand the importance of it and realized it should have been a component inside of our software. So we actually added the SWOT component to it, just to make sure that business owners looked at it. And then having the opportunity to talk with Susan today to really dive deep into that subject, to better understand the importance of it, how to do it, why you need to do it, and how it impacts your business is a great subject to come off of. To get into. Natalie, with you, did you ever experience doing a SWOT or have any need to do a SWOT in any of the businesses that you ran?
Yeah, I think that I didn't really know it was called the SWOT analysis, but anytime you're in a type of team business, we have coaches or people that will come in, mentors that will come in, and we'll talk about different personality types, different strengths, or as we're delegating, who do we delegate what tasks to? And I'm really curious as to what her feedback is, because I found over my career, sometimes we wanted to delegate to the person who was best at that because it would get done. We could delegate, not have to worry about it if you've done the way we wanted to. Then there's the mindset of, okay, give it to the person that really needs to learn this skill, have them invest the time in it to get better. So it's kind of a catch-22. So I'm very interested in what her feedback is with this too, especially because she's had decades of researching this stuff. So I'm really curious about what she has to say this morning for sure.
All right.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Well, obviously, everyone is running around right now. There's so much going on in the marketplace for small businesses. The COVID restrictions are loosening up in some areas. So more businesses are getting back to work and they're getting their businesses online. And I think this is an opportunity time to have this discussions about SWOTs, because many business owners are just going to go back out and open their donut shop, open their hair salon, open their lawnmower services. And they're not thinking about the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Big key word here is threat. COVID was a threat for many businesses, and it was unseen. You know, they weren't prepared for this type of devastation. But no one can technically be prepared for that specific situation, but they can be prepared, kind of like having a fire extinguisher. You know, just having that there and being prepared is so important for a business. It could save you. It could save your business from failure. And with 76% of businesses failing since 1990, you know, trying to get the things in place to survive are very important. Very, very important. So I'm with you, Natalie and Tehran. I'm interested on hearing what Susan has to say. So I want to shut my flappers and get her on this screen so we can get deep into the SWOT.
And before you get her on, you just said something I want to really jump in on, just to kind of double down on it. You said threats because of COVID. And it really made me think about us, how we didn't do the SWOT until after we learned about the SWOT. Then we understood it was so relevant, we actually put it in the software. Same thing with the business plan. 40 some odd pages into a business plan, we realized there's a one-page business plan. Like the road to success is always under construction. So you're always going back and rebuilding. But with COVID, it made me think of the opportunity. So COVID was a threat to many. It was also an opportunity to many. But if you're not really digging deep into your business, you're just not in position to even see or assess the situation. So all things work for the better, the greater good, if you will, if you're in position to respond accordingly, no matter what happens. Maneuverability. Yeah.
Right, right. So hopefully the SWOT is that catch-all that can help business owners as they move forward into that. And those businesses who have been around and have survived COVID, this is something that they want to do as well. And again, I'm just speaking from personal experience. So again, hearing from Susan, Tehran, like you say, the opportunities that come out, I'm really interested in hearing what she has to say, Natalie.
Definitely. It made me think of, too, the times that I've sat with business partners and we focus more on our personality types, too. And it's made me realize I look at those partnerships and they're my closest relationships, because you just see things from a different perspective when you get that, right? You know them and they know you better sometimes than even our own families do, right? So even just from that aspect of it, the people that we're working with, connecting with, that we're, you know, going towards our passions with, it's awesome to be able to get to know them on that level too, and have a professional that's there and helping you guys connect and saying, okay, why are things showing up this way, just even as individuals. So I can't wait. So Saurage-Altenloh, she's the President and Chief Insights Officer at Saurage Research, which has been around since 1987. So I would say she's seen a few things, researched a few things, has a little bit of experience. She had tons and tons of people that were giving testimonies for her online, tons. Just couldn't say enough about her. But one person put, and I loved it, he said, once you've worked with Susan, you wonder how you ever worked without her. So Susan, welcome to the show. We're ecstatic to have you here this morning.
Hello, young lady.
Good morning.
Me.
Very good. How are you?
Welcome, Susan.
Fabulous. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes, all is well in the world.
Awesome.
Okay, so Susan, you heard us talking as we were getting the show started about SWOTs and analysis. What's your overview of this subject, SWOT analysis? Why is it important? Is it important? Should business owners do these?
Not only should they do them, but they should do them more than once in the life of their organization. It is critical to take on that SWOT analysis, to do a deep dive into your organization and how it is competitively positioned, which is all a SWOT analysis is, right? To determine, you know, what's going to help you or what you have to be aware of and prepared to deal with. And yes, things like the pandemic come up and you can't ever expect that, but you can expect something will happen. And in those moments of great change, that is the best time to go back and reconsider, because you use a SWOT analysis to pivot. And everyone pivoted last year in some form, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
They are critical.
So, Susan, what's one of the there's something you mentioned earlier. We were talking about internal and external dealing with SWOTs. What is that? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
For people that don't know what a SWOT is, at least.
Sure, of course. So it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so opportunities and threats are external elements. Those are things that you cannot control. You cannot control legislative threats or opportunities. You know, when the law changes, when the policy changes, it opens up opportunities for some people, and it creates problems for successful business operations for others. And strengths and weaknesses are those elements that are within your control. That we say they're internal, but that means you know what you're good at. You know where, or you should be able to pragmatically and objectively talk about what your organization's weaknesses are. And you can go out and fix those somehow. Maybe they'll be difficult to fix. Maybe they'll be difficult to address, but they're internal and you have control over them. Opportunities and threats are what's outside your walls. It's what you have to deal with. Okay,
so strengths and weaknesses are internal. That's in your control. Opportunities and threats are external.
Yes.
Okay. It's a good way to break that down. Good way to understand that. So why if you, oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, so often we look at opportunities and threats, or opportunities, people will say things like, they'll note an opportunity as, well, if we could get more capital, we could buy more product and make this at a lower cost. That is not an opportunity. An opportunity is when something shifts outside. So that's the only reason I try to discern the difference between the two.
Guys, what I wanted to ask was, how does a person that wants to do a SWOT analysis on their business, whatever the business is, how do they do that and not do it subjectively? Is it possible how do you, like you said, I'm going to say what I think are my strengths. I'm going to say what I think are my weaknesses. Is there a way to make sure there's an objective perspective to just get true data? You know what I mean?
Great question.
So it is normally best if the business owner or manager or operator does the SWOT analysis. You can hire somebody external to do it. What do? They come in and they interview the dickens out of everything and everybody, right? They analyze your numbers. They analyze your processes, your HR structure. If there's 5 people, that's fine, but there's still a structure, the tone, the behavior. So using research, we actually, you interview clients. Clients will tell you the worst parts of you if they know they're not fearful of you, of any retribution. So often a business owner can actually call clients who have left, clients who are still present, maybe long-term, and say, we're looking at how we run our organization. Can I ask you some questions and get some candid answers? And I'm going to tell you, your clients want you to stay in business, right? So they're willing to give you that information if you ask for it. If you don't ask for it, they're probably not going to bring it up. But if you ask them, so what can we do better? Sometimes it's small things and sometimes it's bigger things, but what they're getting from your company is more valuable than fixing the problem, like late billing, or sometimes, the installers leave a mess or something like that. You figure, well, it's worth it for the price and the quality of the product. But if you ask them about it, they'll tell you about it. And they're not they're subjective on their end, but they're not seeing it through the business owner's eyes. They're seeing it through the customer's eyes. And I encourage organizations to always ask their customers, whether they have an advisory panel that they buy lunch for once every quarter, and say, so what's going on? What are you hearing in the industry? How are we doing? help us clean up our act. People will do that for you. They really will. So there are lots of different ways, or you may just have customer satisfaction surveys, or you may just call somebody after you've sold them something and say, so we're just looking at process. Tell me one thing that would have made this purchase even easier or better for you. And they will tell you. And it won't be cheaper. If it is, say, what else? That's all you have to ask. And they'll say, well, I don't know. Your people are pretty great. It'd be nice if you didn't park on my flowers when you deliver it.
Right.
Success. Right. We learned something. And that helps you fill in your weaknesses.
Wow.
As well as your strengths. You may think the quality of your product is a strength. They may say, no, it's the fact that I'm confident that you will deliver what you say you will deliver exactly to spec every time. That's a strength. And it might not be something that you know for yourself, but your customers will tell you that.
Wow, that was heavy. I like that. You really just, I had a light bulb moment. Like, wow, because I didn't think about until you said it, having extended focus groups. That's kind of what I heard. Like actually having a group of people that are your tribe, maybe your early adopters in the software world, and just having even a virtual coffee, or even, going out to eat and just talking about your experience with my product or service. How do you guys talk behind closed doors about what you like and don't like? Just constantly getting that data from the people that's using your product or service. And
it works really well, especially, and you can cycle it out. So you may have a group of 6 or 8 that you're talking to this quarter, and next quarter it's a different group. You could ask them, would you meet with me twice in the next year? That's it.
Actively engaging with your clients.
Yes.
So that's good stuff.
You got to be pretty brave to call your clients and ask that question. Ego has to be out of the way, and you have to want to improve and grow, I would think.
You do, but they're amazingly responsive. So the risk is that all of them will hear what the challenges are, right? So if one says you're crushing my flowers every time you back your truck up into my parking lot, the others will know, and they may say, yeah, it happens to me also, or they may say, no, that's not my issue.
Right.
I'm finding this other thing, or this happens elsewhere, or I don't know what they'll find, but it's nice because that gives them an opportunity to buy in. So that's the flip side of the coin. So they'll hear the bad, which isn't going to be horrible, but they'll also want to help you. So they'll leap in with ideas to help you resolve the issue. That's why they're there. They want you to do well, or they wouldn't put the time in to share an hour with you every quarter.
You're hitting it on the head. I've noticed something so consistent in these episodes. We've had Amy Razor, Patty Farmer, Pradeep, Colette Portis, David Chrysler, even Sharon Lecter. All of them saying the same thing. There's something so consistent, no matter which part of building your business you're in, and that's that the customer is the reason why you're in business. Is the reason why your business is going to become successful if it is. But it's so easy to think about, my bottom line, my price points, making more money, trying to expand and this, that. But as long as you focus on giving the best experience, then that almost by default ensures you have some longevity. And it's just interesting to me to hear that keep being I think that's one of the big differentiators between people who struggle with building sustainable businesses and business who easily, well, I shouldn't say easily, but who streamline that process, thinking about the end user first in all aspects of it. So I really appreciate that.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, it's true.
Oh, okay.
I would agree with you. Yes, absolutely.
You guys didn't have a powwow before you got on the show. You just say it. It's interesting.
We do just say it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that I had a coach who would come in and ask if he would call it the one-night stand approach. But I think until you've had that feedback, it's almost like you don't realize that you're doing it, right? You gave them that product, you gave them that service, then you're on to the next. You feel like, okay, I finished my task, then you're on to the next, but you're not thinking about the relationship so much. And that relationship is everything.
Right.
It's really about the relationship, because that's where everything else comes from, right? But sometimes being just so focused on moving ahead and being task oriented that we're not slowing down and doing that. And it's the most important part.
Well, maintaining that customer relationship is critical. I mean, even with large purchases, you're still going to have to purchase them again. If it's a washer and dryer, right? Or landscaping or some kind of office equipment, you know, just because it lasts 5 years doesn't mean that they're not going to come back to you next time. Keeping in touch makes it really easy to default back to your organization. You almost, I don't want to say you've not become a friend, but you are a known quantity or value. And that has incredible value to the customer. They're like, well, I know if I call them, I will get what I need.
Right. Consistency.
Right.
No,
Who has time to shop it?
Say again.
Who has time to shop it?
Yeah.
You've done all the comparison work. You're like, I got it. I'm done. Right.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine in Florida yesterday, and we were just talking about that, the CLV, creating lengthening the lifetime that you and your client can be in business, even if it's a transactional situation. If they're buying a thing from you, well, you can still do a follow-up with them. Like, and what you just said, something else that was interesting. Even if they're buying something from you, they may buy something else later on because they buy this thing. One product or service is related to other products or services. And it makes me think of how Patty Farmer on a previous episode was talking about having a network of people who help. They don't sell what you sell, but they sell other things that your client may want to buy, and having relationships with them. Always just building a networking infrastructure, if you will. So making their experience with your one thing that they bought, maybe a follow-up card, or when that one goes outdated and it's time for them to upgrade. Are they going to go to a new flashy toy just because it's out, or are they going to go back to you to get the one that you have because you actually established that relationship with them? So yeah, I think that's really a slept-on component. Deal with your clients and sincerely. You know?
That's right. And keep in touch with them through social media. You know, have you encouraged them to keep in touch with you so that you can inform them when new versions or additions or line extensions come out? You know, every lawn service in America does that. They do more than lawn service now. They do more than pests now. They do grass. They do trees. They do everything. Right. So, but you wouldn't know it unless they communicated it to you. Then you don't want them going, oh, I love my guys, but I don't think they do anything but that. No, they do everything. They can take care of you full life cycle. You want life wallet. You really do.
So you can't strengthen your strengths if you haven't studied what your strengths are. You can't adjust your weaknesses if you haven't gotten feedback, not what you think are your weaknesses, not what you think are your strengths, but the people experiencing your service or product thing. So,
exactly.
Yeah, stay SWOT.
I've never done a study, a research study, where we didn't find something fabulous, you know, validate something that the sponsor of the study anticipated. But we always find something they didn't know and is unexpected. And I think that's amazing, because over 30-something years, all of these clients, these are great clients. These are companies that know their business. I'd say 80% of them know what they're doing, which is why they bring in research. You know, they want more information from their customers or about the market. But we always find something they didn't know. And they're like, oh, you know, we had wondered about that. And one of my engineers mentioned it, but I didn't realize it was actually a problem.
Right.
Glad we did the research. So ask. You can never ask too much of your clients, customers.
Susan, how have you seen that change over the last, well, so you've been in this since 1987. How have you seen this change? Or is it, you know, basically the same thing now? We have social media. I mean, the millennials are making tons of money. Some of them not even really having a sustainable business, right? So how have you seen that change over the years? And then what feedback could you give on that?
Well, what specifically do you want to know has changed? There's so much.
Wow. Wow.
I guess how we've gotten better, or what should we do to leverage more, maybe? You know, what's just been some things that you've learned, maybe that the challenge that most entrepreneurs or businesses are having? Is there a common theme?
Yes, there is a common theme. So businesses are more savvy now about gathering information about their organizations and about their customers. They also, of course, the rise of big data reflects the fact that we gather and keep more information about our customers and about our processes and what's going on in the field and the industry. In 1987, I would say that online access was not particularly sophisticated, if it even existed, for some of this kind of information. So I find that business owners are more aware and more savvy, but they still are very subjective, and they still find it difficult to take a good look outside of their little bubble to see how their customers really feel. They are still reluctant to do research, whether it's by walking around the store and asking, or looking, watching, doing surveys, drop in the box, fill out your name and information for a drawing or whatever. They still don't do that, but they do have more data available to them, and they do keep more data on their customers. Now, leveraging that data is something else. They're still learning to take that data they're keeping and work it, analyze it. And that's where my hope is, that they will start using more of what they have to help their businesses grow.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Susan Saurage-Altenloh, CEO of Saurage Marketing Research. Quick break. We'll be right back.
A wise man once asked, what if starting a business was like jumping out of a plane? And like 76% of businesses, what if 76% of parachutes failed before you reached the destination? What about those of you who have already jumped? Well, you may still have time to check your business. Pillar5.com, where businesses get it right.
Back again.
Hello.
Swatting failure flies. So, Susan, I want to get into how to actually do a SWOT, but let me ask first. So for an entrepreneur, business owner that's watching right now, they've been like Natalie actually said, you have a lot of people who are already generating revenue, they're making money already. Then somebody says, hey, do a SWOT. It's like, well, for what? I'm actually making money. What is the harm? First, what is the harm if a person doesn't do a SWOT? What could we say to people that may be watching now to say, okay, well, let me at least go and Google this SWOT thing. Just trying to be proactive and say, okay, well, let me actually do a SWOT. Because if I don't, I think that's the part that people don't understand, not having that information. If I don't know what you like to eat, what that can cause if I'm trying to take you out to eat,
Well, it's sort of like doing high flying gymnastics without a net. You don't know. So that means that your spend, your media, advertising, promotional spend it's broad. It's just out there, as opposed to being able to respond directly to what the market will adapt or accept, rather. So if you don't do a SWOT analysis, then you're not doing the homework you need to do to keep your business strong. The homework you need to do has to do with what are the incoming legislative threats? If you're a food truck, how are the trends changing? I'm here in Houston. How are the trends changing for food trucks? Are they growing or declining? Well, they're growing. Well, if you have a food truck, you can't control the success of other people's food trucks. You can only control what you do or how cool you are, or whether you have, flash corn dog sales. Everybody loves corn dog, right? Flash corn dog sales when the temperature is below 80 degrees here, or something like that. You have to be very clever. But if you don't know what's going on, there are more food trucks out there. They're going to start taxing. Let's say they're going to start taxing food trucks differently. They're going to start charging for you to park in parking lots in certain areas that were free before. They're going to be limiting the streets from allowing food trucks access during certain hours. Those are threats. If you don't know your threats, how can you what happens is the company that doesn't do this kind of persistent, ongoing, continuous swatting flies, right, is going to end up saying something along the lines of, oh, I can't believe they did that. That's terrible. They're ruining my business. No, right. You had the opportunity to know about this and pivot and adjust. Right. So I know that's a long answer to a short question, but it's true. And sometimes we don't have the schnelly, as we say. It's just too much work to do, but you cannot survive without it.
Okay. Schnelly. I never heard of that before.
That's a motorcycle term. That's
a motorcycle term?
Yeah, schnelly.
Are you a bike rider?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. I wouldn't have thought that.
I'm a motorhead.
A motorhead?
I love it.
Okay, what kind of bike do you ride? Are you a chopper rider or a street bike rider? I know this is
I'm no choppers. A lot of British bikes and a lot of touring bikes.
Touring bikes. Okay. Yeah, that was way left. I just wanted to ask.
Absolutely.
But now I can see you on your British bike yelling down the street with your helmet on. Swat your flies, man. Get the swatting. All right. Yeah, good stuff.
So you are minimizing risk. So companies pay a lot for insurance, for E&O coverage, omissions and errors insurance, or errors and omissions insurance, health insurance, key man insurance. I guess they call it key person insurance now, but business. When businesses are not able to do business, there's insurance to cover that. If you get hurt, there's all this insurance. And yet, this is a form of insurance. This is understanding what's out there that could trip you up, essentially.
Okay.
I love that analogy. Not just because I'm in financial planning, but it just really brought things together, especially because so many times, I mean, I can talk about life insurance till the cows come home, and people will have every reason why they think they don't need it. Something happens. Like, people are asking, how has your business been affected by COVID? I'm swamped because people are really like, okay, I need to do this now, right? I need to be worried about COVID, if they're changing guidelines, if I can qualify. And so something happened to make people take actions. The same thing with the SWOT analysis. If I'm hearing you correctly, right? People aren't really thinking about it as much, or some small businesses, something happens, makes them have to do a SWOT analysis. And then that's where they have to shift. But there was big risk up front, as opposed to if they started with the analysis, got all their, strengths, everything in place, knew what the weaknesses were, knew what the potential pivots could be, right? And then they can take action based on that. They already know which way they need to go next.
That is correct. And Natalie, it's not only dealing with threats, but it's the opportunities. I know we've heard many of our peers and associates say, I wish I had known then what I know now. I could have made a fortune. I could have taken advantage of that. So let's talk about the opportunities. I'm going to give you an example of an opportunity and why it's so important to be aware of those opportunities regularly, which is why that advisory council comes in real handy. So opportunities, the pandemic most would not think of, although for you, Natalie, it has been, would not think of it as an opportunity. So consider a company that provides, it's like the wine and painting places that we used to get together in groups and go and we drink a little wine and we
the sip and paints.
Yeah, it was great, right? Oh, they have it for children also, for children's birthday parties. We bring the kids in, feed them Kool-Aid and cake, get a lot of sugar in them, give them a paintbrush and help them paint flowers and frogs and sunshine and all that. Great business, right? Then the pandemic occurs. So what happens? Well, let's think about this in terms of opportunities. So, and as a SWOT analysis, right? So the strengths are, for the company, it has all the materials. It has the program and the process down, how to help people have fun using paint, you know, and feeding them a little bit and getting them together. All right. So the opportunity that occurred there, or the threat, obviously, was the pandemic. You could not meet and you could not get close and personal for several months there. Nobody, we had to stay in our homes. So, but the opportunity was you have these children at home. Children have birthdays. Mommies want the children to experience their 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th and so on birthdays. What do? You pivot. So the opportunity was bored children. The strength was we know how to do this. So this company I'm thinking of pivoted. It said, we can still do children's parties. That's what Zoom is for, right? So we'll do children's parties, and what we'll do, you tell us how many kids there are, we will deliver the painting and the food, the cake and all of that to each family who is invited to the party. And then y'all can get together using a communication like this or FaceTime, and you can all paint together and celebrate together and say happy birthday to little Bobby. They did that. This is a one-person company, a sole entrepreneur who has a little business, an incorporated business, and she did fabulous because she saw the opportunity. And she did. She sat down and picked through all of what's going on. What could we do to continue to be successful? And she looked at the opportunities in light of the problems. There you go.
Yeah. Pretty simple, man. It's pretty simple when you know what you're talking about. When you know what you're doing. You've been doing it for a couple of decades. Well,
there's doors opening everywhere. You never know. There are doors opening for me, for you, for Natalie, all the time. And some of them we don't need to walk through. It's good to know they exist because it tells us about the market or our field or our industry. That's why you do SWOTs.
Got to do a SWOT.
And your strengths change, right?
And your what changes? What did you say?
Strengths change. Think about where you are from 5 years ago. The strengths that you have in your organization, your respective organizations, that has changed.
That's right. You're very true. You're very, very right about that. So how do they do a SWOT? How do they do it? What do? Do they just go to Google and just say SWOT? I mean, I know you explain this and actually teach us in a college course, I believe, right?
Yes.
You know, there's like certain humps or do you notice a consistent place where people tend to not get it right, start going left, like, wait, remember, we're doing a SWOT, we're not doing a this. Can you speak to that from a how-to perspective?
Companies seem to always start with their strengths because they know those best.
Okay.
But they need to check their strengths. So after you've listed your strengths, you need to have somebody else put some eyes on it. You need to call your client. You need to check in with your customer and say, so what do you see as our strengths, right? Then they put their weaknesses, and their weaknesses are usually 2 or 3 things. I'm always able, if I do this for someone, I can find more weaknesses than strengths. I don't know, maybe it's the researcher in me, but I can find a ton of weaknesses, right? So that's one of the challenges. Try to find more weaknesses. It's not to tear yourself down. It's to be aware of the cracks in the veneer. That's all. You need to know what your weaknesses are so you can put into place protections and support to ensure those weaknesses do not become they do not overpower your strengths. And that is very possible, right? Okay. The attitudes, problems with salespeople, and there's a variety of them. So that's the order that people normally do these in. If I were to be able to control how they do this, I would suggest that they look at their external challenges first. So I would actually look at threats first. So when you look at the market, what could happen that would affect you in some way, maybe not immediately? What's out there? What's coming? What's going on? What are maybe not the mega trends, which are global, but what are the local trends? What are the industry trends? Where are we seeing this headed? So for example, in research, focus groups have been done for years and years. Well, they went online years ago, and now they're only online until about 4 or 5 months ago, right? So are those focus group facilities staying current to understand they're going to have to change and be able to do more virtual and digital? I don't know. So I would look at threats first. Then I would look at weaknesses. Get the negatives out of the way, because that will actually change what strengths you identify. And it will also help you with your opportunities, because if you know your threats, if you know what's around the bend, what could happen with our national legislation? What could happen with how the DEA treats certain products? What about recycling? How is that going to affect your business? In an industrial business, it's huge, right? And the laws associated with it and the places that can happen. What about protecting data? One of the biggest growth areas. What's going on with data and IT? So we have to be more secure. Some of the threats are that we will not be able to gather certain kinds of data, right? Another threat, we will be more responsible and have to spend more money protecting the data we have on our customers. Those are threats. We're going to have to spend money to deal with it.
Right.
And the opportunities are that you can access more data about your customers. And the better you know your customers, the better you can respond to them, or you can expand your product offering. So, and you asked about, issues that come up. I think we focus on our strengths because we want to validate ourselves. We're okay. We're doing right.
Right.
Look at what they're doing to us. I don't want to sound, super wild here, but what is out there that's going to mess things up? No matter how good we keep our house, if a bulldozer pushes in a wall, we're done. Let's look for bulldozers.
Right.
Law, competition.
Get out the way. Get the negatives out the way.
I don't know if that's looking for Tehran, but
It so is, and here's why that is, because wow, when you say it, all right. So if I have my own business, or an average entrepreneur who has their business, they should be very, very optimistic. To see
Absolutely.
how far it can go. But man, you really help me look at, you have to play the devil's advocate seat too. You just have to look at anything that could possibly be that person that's always what do they call, I forget the phrase, just a negative person. They always find something negative in whatever you're trying to do. It's like, put on that person's hat for a while dealing with your own business. Because if you scratch those things off, you can't scratch them off, like you're saying, unless you actually take the time to address them as real. Versus, man, that's just you being negative. Well, let's sit in that seat. What if that happens? What if that happens? What if? And so it's like you have to be in a different, from a optimistic perspective, looking at your strengths and your weaknesses, but a real perspective, not just reaching for stuff that's not there. And then be your own antagonist for your threats. What actually am I not thinking of? What can come out of the left field and just knock me right off take me right out below my knees. Yeah. So yeah, that's I didn't think of that in that way when I thought about threats, but actually like really going deep into it, like what could possibly happen? And that just prepares you more.
A good business person does not want to be surprised by those threats coming to bear, especially when they were on the horizon.
Right. Yeah.
Did you start to add to that?
Say again?
I was saying, I thought Natalie was going to ask something. Okay.
watch. Watch her go.
Yeah, it's if you are positive and favorable about your own organization, then you want to know when something's not going well. You want someone to say, you know, that door on the side of the building is no longer locking properly, right? Don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You want to know, wow, they just changed the law so that anybody with a food truck can set up in any restaurant's parking, any other restaurant competitor, right? Restaurant's parking lot. Or they're going to have these events on Saturday and all the food trucks are invited. Don't you want to know that? Even if it's, whether it's a threat or an opportunity, if you don't know, you're not particularly savvy, and you must be savvy if you're going to be successful. And you don't want others to say, oh man, she never notices stuff like that. You want them to say, I don't know how he does it, but he always knows what's going to happen before it happens. He's almost a futurist. No, he just looks at, he swats.
He swat. Got to SWOT. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with Susan, with CIO of Saurage Marketing and Research.
Ew.
Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. And we're with Susan Saurage-Altenloh from Saurage Marketing and Research. Amazing insights on, as Tehran say, swatting those flies, understanding why swatting is important for your small business. Susan, thank you for joining us. And obviously we're with Natalie Essman and Tehran Glover, who are asking all the questions. So make sure you drop your comments and your questions. Susan's here with us for just a little bit more time. It's never enough time with Susan. We wish we can just keep her with us all the time. But if you have questions, go ahead and ask them now, and she'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, you can always reach out to Susan on Twitter. So please be sure to do that if you're trying to connect with Susan. She can help you in your marketing research. So I was sitting back in the back of the studio, and I was watching and listening to all this information. There was tons of information being delivered. And I think it was almost an information overload. I couldn't stop taking notes. So I snuck away to take some notes. But I did have a question, Susan. Mm-hmm. There are some businesses that are small businesses, but they tend to have a team, 3, 4, 5, or 6. When someone is building their organization, who would they revert that responsibility to, or designate that responsibility to, in order to do the SWOT on the organization? Is it the founders? Is it the marketer? Who takes over that role? Or is it a team collective task?
So at the risk of sounding loosey-goosey, as we say in the South, it depends on the organization. So often the person responsible for marketing is also responsible for leading the process of developing the SWOT analysis, but he or she will still have to interact with others. If there is no person who is, well, the person who's responsible for marketing could be the owner also, depending on the size of the organization. Ultimately, if in a small business, you probably need to hear from everyone.
Awesome. And you
on up.
You made a point and you said to do the process. Where would a small business, someone who's watching right now who says, okay, I want to do the SWOT analysis on my company, where do they go to get this sort of information? Because many business owners have no idea, like we did when I started. I didn't know anything about a SWOT. Where would I go? Is that something we can get in contact with Susan for? Is that something they need to study and research on YouTube? Where do they go to get this process started so they do it right? Oh,
I'm going to use a noun as a verb, and I'm going to say start by Googling it. I'm hesitant to say that, but truly to get the quick look, or go to Google Scholar, how to do a SWOT. There's a lot of information online. We normally direct small businesses to the online resource. You can Bing it. I suppose you can Bing it. Or Yahoo it, right? But just do a search online. There's so much. A lot of bloggers and influencers do this kind of work and help small businesses with it. And I always encourage you to find, there are lots of great blogs out there. I could pull at least 20 of them in less than 5 minutes. That's how prevalent it is out there. I think the hardest part, though, is just do it. Just get out there and take that first step. And once you do it, you almost get hungry for the information. You feel kind of bereft without it, you know?
Right. Correct. Absolutely. Good insight. So there it is. That's how you go out and start researching SWOTs. Susan, I know we didn't have an opportunity to ask you about some of your background on the show, and I want to take this opportunity, since we have no particular questions coming in directly. Tell us a little bit about Susan. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in SWOTs and market research, and why is it important to you?
I was a pre-law student at LSU in Baton Rouge, and I took a summer job at a market research firm. That is the honest truth. And I realized I loved it. I just love asking questions and gathering information. So I've been doing research ever since, and I truly enjoy helping businesses find out who they are and how they can grow. I mean, this is all we do. This is what research is about. We work with marketers, advertising agencies, public relations firms. Personally, I'm one of those people who is just type A. I'm the Energizer Bunny in my family. And so I never stopped asking questions. Somebody told me I started asking questions when I was 2 years old, and I've never stopped. So perhaps this is the right career for me.
So you're always been type A, and you've always asked a lot of questions. Yeah. So how do we guide the business owners who are not type A, who don't like to ask questions? And now we're asking them, please go do a SWOT. And they're going, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this thing. You know, how do we encourage them to do that?
Well, remember, if you keep doing exactly what you have been doing, then you're going to get the same results. Even though the market adjusts, you're not going to grow your customer base. You're not going to grow the offerings that you provide. You're not going to expand or develop or deepen your relationship. Right. Therefore, if you wish to be sustainable as an organization, you must be aware of the other changes. You cannot put your head in the sand and go, if I can't see it, everything will be fine and nothing will change. We call that entrepreneurial dread, by the way. There's an actual term for it. And that's where you don't want to know it's too much. You can't make payroll. Everything's going haywire and you just don't want to deal with it. So you get all tunnel focused, you drop your eyes, and you no longer look at what's going on around you. And ultimately, you become one of that 76% you mentioned at the beginning. So let's not do that. Instead, even if you're not type A, get someone else to help you with it in your organization. If there are two of you, get the other person to help you and say, so what do we know about our market and its change? Can we find one change every other week and then start dealing with that? See if it's a threat or an opportunity and how we might respond to it, which is not quite a SWOT, but it's certainly the beginnings of it. And then you just keep that information together. And after about 2 months, you have something to look at.
Wow.
Started filling out your SWOT. And you can do that by spending just a few minutes a day or an hour a week. But I think an hour or two a week, and at least an hour a week, is worth saving the business and helping it be sustainable and feed your family and your employees. It's not that much.
Absolutely. You know, Susan, you said something that's triggered me, and it gave me an aha moment. When we built Pillar 5 and we built this checklist that walks a person step by step through the sustainability of their business from seed to maturity. And I know you haven't had the opportunity to see it, and I can't wait to show you to you now because I'm hearing all of this SWOT analysis. When we created it, we knew SWOT analysis were important, and so we created it right at the beginning of the development of the business in the seed stage. But now that I'm listening to you, it's not something that happens once, as you said. This is something that is perpetual throughout the development of the business and in order to develop the business. So this makes me rethink and go, okay, we need to go back and make sure that the SWOT analysis is in every life cycle stage, every level of the development of this business. And primarily, they should be doing this weekly. This should be a task that is not overlooked weekly. We should constantly be looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. You've said it very well. You have to have your thumb on the pulse of your business, your field, your industry, and your actual market. If you don't, how can you expect to know what's going on? And everything changes so much faster now than it did 20 or even 10 years ago, right? So you need to be in front of it.
Right.
Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Heavy. Simple and heavy.
Simple. It is simple, and yet it's very profound. I agree with you. We just don't think of it that way. But we do want to be successful. Everyone wants to be successful. This is such a neat way to keep up with what's going on and remain sustainable and remain competitive.
Awesome. Awesome. Natalie, it's on you.
Well, I love, Susan, how, and I think I was on your Facebook that I saw that you talked about being curious. And that was one of my favorite things because it's just such a powerful place to be in when you're being curious, which really describes everything that you've been doing for the last 30 plus years, right? You're just being curious. That's why you're asking questions. And we're not maybe always asking the right questions, but as long as we keep asking questions, we're going to get the information that we need to make the changes that we need to make. So it's just been a real pleasure having you on the show this morning. Thank you so much for all that you've shared with us. I know that we've had where you can be reached out through Twitter and going through the SWOT analysis, Googling it, Binging it, right? Starting to do our own research, hopefully not analysis paralysing it, because that's what I felt like already. Like I just wanted to keep Googling stuff, right? But thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
It was a real treat.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. And I know I can see you today on this holiday weekend with on your bike riding out. Now I can only
get get it, Susan.
Get it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you much, though. Obviously, it was a lot of valuable information, that applicable information people could use today. Internal. Yes. Yeah. That's it. I'm done. I'm gonna just start rambling.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. We hope you'll come back and join us for another show so we can pick your brain on marketing and research, because as we know, from seed to maturity, there's many steps in the marketing research, not just one. Nothing is a one all end all be all. There's many things to do. And when you do it, there's consistency that has to happen. So be sure to do that. Susan, we hope to see you again. And I can't wait to show you Pillar 5 and get your feedback on how we can help businesses grow to the next level of sustainability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that was Susan Saurage-Altenloh, PhD. Amazing insight on SWOT. For those of you who joined us late and missed it, please go back, rewind, watch the replay. A lot of information on SWOT. Have your notes. Take your notes. She said a lot of information, so I'll leave it with that because she said it, and no one can say it better than how she said it. So I'm just going to be quiet there. My biggest takeaway is that a SWOT needs to be done consistently, over and over, weekly. At least spend an hour every week in your business doing a SWOT analysis. Push the busy work aside and put this on your agenda and make sure you do this, as well as doing your Pillar 5 assessments once an hour every week, and make sure you know where your business is, because it's going to help you to grow your business.
Yeah. You summed it up for me, champ. That's about it for me. Happy swatting.
Yeah.
Susan said, happy swatting.
You got to inspect what you expect, right? How can we make any shifts if we're not inspecting what we're expecting? So that was my biggest takeaway as well.
The hardest part about being in business is minding your business. Mind it. Put your mind behind the grind, man. Mind your business. So that's it, man. I enjoyed today's episode. Can't wait to do it again. You guys are great. Audience and co-host.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be here with all of you. And for those of you who have not taken your Pillar 5 assessment, please go do that. It's pillarfive.com. Go take your assessment, identify the life cycle stage your business is in, and know exactly what the next action step you need to take to get your business to the level of sustainability. And as Susan said, make sure you're swatting all the way through. Every week, you're going to be swatting at this business. You want to make sure you understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, and you can reach out to Susan on her Twitter.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
2 words.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on the Better Your Business Show. We'll see you next week with our next expert.
See you next week.
And by the way, before you go away, don't forget to join the Los Angeles Tribune live this evening with Mo Rock, Natalie Forrest. They always have a special event every Monday night, and there's always a lot of information there. Make sure you're there and get that insight. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
And you can catch the show on LATV on the Roku channel for Los Angeles Tribune.
Absolutely. Mo released a new hit single. I'm excited to see that's going to be on the show tonight.
We got a detour.
We're going out tonight to check it out.
Some social media, I can't wait to hear. Yeah.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.